How PCOS and hypothyroidism affect Desi women's lives.
Hypo, which means underactive, lower or underactive thyroid in the body can lead to hypothyroidism.
Why do you think that people, Desi women specifically, need to know about this issue? There is also Lean PCOS. Can you enlighten us on that term?
End of the day, everything goes back to the lifestyle, goes back to the diet.
What do you think about the Desi diets and their support with PCOS and diabetes? If me and my wife were to go on a diet where we have to lose weight and we see this research article that says, okay, so if you cut down your carbs, usually what happens is it works for one person, it doesn't work for the other person. Or sometimes it just works for both of them or it just doesn't work for both of them. There's always a buzz out there about body dysmorphia, which affects a vast majority of women out there. What do you have to say in that?
Dopamine release sometimes is actually good because it's a reward giving hormone, and a feeling good hormone also what we call it. But if it's too much, you have a downward trend of that.
How does she look? Auntie comments that are so popular all over the social media.
As we know that women go through a lot of hormonal imbalances, fluctuations in their weight. We also know that there are many single mothers out there.
If you were to tell them, let them be single moms, or even if they have, their whole family with them, what would those three advices be to maintain a healthy lifestyle so they can actually enjoy their life?
So my top 3 choices, as I mentioned, create a mindful diet for you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our podcast today. Today, we will be discussing about Desi women, how they face unique health challenges that blend cultural, biological, and societal factors. From PCOS and early menopause to chronic stress and body image pressures. These issues often go unnoticed or misunderstood. Today, we will explore how traditional diets, multitasking, and societal expectations impact health and well-being, and share practical, research-backed solutions to help Desi women take charge of their physical and mental health. Stay with us as we uncover the path to sustainable wellness and empowerment with Coach Saad. Search. Assalamu alaikum, Coach.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, ala kulli hal. How
Are
about
you
yourself?
excited? Are you excited for the topic today?
Always. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So, without any further ado, let's deep dive into the first question, shall we?
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I'm just on the side, but inshallah I'll just throw in some questions. And yes, I'm excited for this episode.
So, how PCOS and hypothyroidism affect Desi women's lives, Coach Saad?
So, for that, we have to understand what really is PCOS, right? What is PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's also, some people might be aware of PCOD as well, which is polycystic ovarian disease.
Mhm.
There's a subtle difference between each of them, but in a nutshell, when the eggs are immature or they are not being used, they get converted and become cyst on the ovaries, and that causes a lot of problems in terms of the how the hormones are going to react for a certain woman, right? It has been growing in a lot of young girls, and it has no limit. It affects a lot of people, and there are many factors that are related to that, and also the fact that the reason PCOS happens is because the male hormone called as androgen becomes intensively more in the women. That causes hormonal imbalances leading to issues like that. And when we come to hypothyroidism, when we know the word hypo, which means under,
Mhm.
active, lower, right? So lower or underactive thyroid in the body can lead to hypothyroidism, which is very common compared to hyperthyroidism, which is overactive thyroid, right?
Mhm.
Both are a mess basically. So And there are many reasons again, just like the PCOS, it has many reasons. How it can affect, we also know as per the research that due to the lifestyle factors, the issues they face, the stress they build up, um, because they don't take care of about themselves and everything, they face a lot of issues that leads and piles up to issues like this, which includes dietary issues, lifestyle issues, depression, work and life balance, and everything. So the Desi factor can be a major part here, because a lot of women here face a difficult, especially the Desi women, which I have noticed, and out of the many clients which I have spoken to,
Mhm.
that they deal with the issues that are, related to, outburst of the acne, infertility, and as well as you have issues which are related to weight gain,
Uh-huh.
as well as you have issues that are related to the mental health challenges building up, just depression because of the factors that affect them physically and internally at the same time.
Mhm.
So it is a major pandemic for them. So we really have to address that and make sure that women all around are educated about this, so they can actually make a mindful decision, inshallah.
Inshallah. And why do you think that people, Desi women specifically, need to know about this issue?
Just like any other person, I would say every person should be aware of the conditions that can or cannot happen to them.
Mhm.
Because end
Mhm.
of the day, you don't know for sure that what you are going to face and why, right?
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
example, if
Mhm.
there's a woman who looks fit, right? Who looks active, eats well, and does everything. Yet she is gaining weight. Yet she's having this acne outburst. Yet she's not happy about herself. So when all and many things, again, we have a like list of things which can happen. When these things happen and they're clueless, why is it even happening?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
unless until you have knowledge, how would you know why is it happening? Like for example, if a person have no clue about PCOS or PCOD or hypothyroidism or diabetes or gestational diabetes or anything like that, and they're facing issues like that, and they see their HbA1c spiking up and down, and they're clueless, and the weight is fluctuating, they're gaining weight and everything.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. If you are a Desi trying to lose weight and gain lean muscle, and you have tried every single approach out there, you have tried the restrictive diets, you have tried fasting, you have tried every single thing that you can think of, and you have no clue how to lose weight, then inshallah we can help you with our coaching, the New Fit Ummah online Muslim fitness coaching, where we help people lose weight without starving and while enjoying the foods they love. Inshallah ta'ala, you will be easily able to lose between 20 to 30 pounds within a period of 90 days or less, with your underlying conditions. Let it be hypothyroidism, let it be high blood pressure, let it be anything. Inshallah ta'ala, we will see that if you are ready to impact your life, then we are ready to help you make a change for your whole life, inshallah ta'ala.
And they will be clueless. That leads to confusion, leads to depression, leads to anxiety and stress.
So it's
So if-
important. It's important for them to have knowledge
Correct.
based evidence.
So at least that gives them
immerse them,
contentment
yeah.
that I can at least go and get myself checked. If you don't know, why would you even go and get yourself checked, right? In the first place. So yes, the knowledge is very crucial, not in this sense, generally in every sense. And Islam also educates upon that factor that talabul ilmi farizatun ala kulli Muslim, and the seeking of knowledge, especially about Islam as per the hadith goes, that it is mandatory upon every man and woman. And that can be applied here as well, that it is mandatory upon every man and woman to know about the factors that or the issues or the conditions that can happen, so they have this preventive measures that they can take, because end of the day it is always better to have a preventive measure rather than having to deal with the situation after that has happened.
So there is a term that we might come across. I mean, you have mentioned about the PCOS. There is also lean PCOS.
Mhm.
Can you enlighten us on that term, inshallah?
Inshallah. That's a very good question, by the way.
Hmm.
So lean PCOS is just another sub part of PCOS, okay? Polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is again, as I said, metabolic disorder. It is very interesting because out of the PCOS patients, for example, you have 100% of capacity of the women who are affected by the PCOS, right? Out of that, only 70%, approximately as per the stats, have this regular PCOS where they gain weight, insulin resistance, and acne outbreak and infertility issues and whatnot, which is a common thing. So when you see that, you can get yourself checked if you're aware of that. But when a woman has lean PCOS, which is very rare, only 30% of them have that, which just means that a woman is not going to gain the weight. She's going to have some infertility issues, sleep deprivation, insomnia maybe, and then irregular periods and everything, just like all the symptoms. But she won't gain weight. She will be lean. She cannot even gain weight if she wants to. That's the problem again.
So the issue is not even the PCOS itself. She won't even know PCOS.
Exactly, that's the point. That
Subhanallah.
leads to confusion. It's building up the stress. Anxiety will build up, and as she becomes more clueless, she will be build up this lack of confidence, and that will lead to many issues. You have so many issues that can go wrong here. That can happen, which are wrong, and she has to face it. The problem is she is in this rare capacity of women who can and cannot have it, and a lot of women are not even aware of this lean PCOS. They just know there's a thing called PCOS, which is again an umbrella term because there are many things that can happen with that, but lean PCOS is something like that.
Might as well say hidden PCOS.
Yes, it's more like, I would say it's an invisible struggle, I would say, where you're just struggling, but you don't know why you are struggling, right? It's a thing which it's like you're in a loop and you're not aware of that, and you get confused, stress, anxiety builds up, and you're having just random outbreaks over the body and everything. It's a mess. It's a mess. So women should be aware of that.
Okay. I mean, any small tips for them that you usually give to people with these conditions?
I mean, I usually give general recommendations to a lot of women, for example, that you have to make sure that you're having a balanced diet. End of the day, everything goes back to the lifestyle, goes back to the diet, goes back to the sleep, the pattern which you have for a consistent period. And that is the major cause for a lot of issues that have been going on as per the stats for the global research. The government has done a survey and report, and they have all these details on that. And major factors that lead to that are the lack of awareness, yes, bad lifestyle, yes, bad dietary choices, yes, a lack of physical activity, yes, not sleeping properly or having a proper sleep and wake up times, not exposing yourself to the sun, the building of the circadian rhythm, and just being aware of all the situation which is going on and how you can deal with it. So it's not complicated. It's just that you have to be aware of that.
For people who usually go by their lives and are not identifying these kind of issues, is there a way they can smartly identify it so they can treat the issue? Is there a way they can smartly identify these conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
The best way is to, as per the doctors recommend every time, if you have a PCP, that's amazing. If not, get a PCP or a doctor you frequently visit. For women, yes, go for the gynecologist and everything, or your OB-GYN or OB-GYN or something. So when you do that, they have this certain periods of checks for 6 months or quarterly checkups or weekly checkups, bi-weekly, depending on how serious your condition is, or just if you have a history or something, or maybe your genetics are all over the place, depending on how your family history goes, you will have some consistency of the checkups. I think they say that at least 6 months, once in 6 months. When you do that, you will be able to figure out a lot of issues. Like they do this test called the CPAP and everything, and they, depending on how complex it is, they get to know that what is really going on in the body of the woman. Yes, it is recommended to go with a female doctor, ideally a Muslim. Then you have this order as with the Sharia that you go with for a female doctor who is a Muslim. If you don't find that, then the second priority would be a female doctor who is not a Muslim. Then you go for another option. The third in the row would be a male doctor who is Muslim. And the fourth would be, the last one would be a non-Muslim doctor who is who's non-Muslim, like who's a male. So Muslim female doctor, then we have non-Muslim female doctor, then you have Muslim male doctor, then non-Muslim male doctor. So that's the order you have to go. Always the first one will be the same gender and a Muslim.
No, and I think one more thing would be to note on that is it also depends on the person to person. So like the doctor that you're visiting, if they're not even actually qualified, or if
exactly you go with the order. So if it checks mark everything and your thing is really serious,
yes,
just go with the order. And if not, then if there's no clue, Islam is not so hard on you. If there's an exception, there's an exception. So yes, you can.
So, but in general, 6 months, check it out. Don't miss the opportunity of knowing about your body.
And it's generally for every other person, man, woman, everyone. When you're going closer to your aging part, where you're growing old, right? You have to have more frequent checks, right? So yes.
And I think there is also one more thing that ties into this is people actually wait until they can get checked. And the system in the US is that they have to have their PCP or the insurance thing get done in November or December. So this is actually a good time when they can actually plan ahead, like what kind of doctors are good and are females and have those qualifications. So they can plan ahead of time and get those insurances that will help them to maintain their religious identities, as well as get themselves checked with a really good professional. So planning is needed.
True.
If you wait until the next year, then you don't have options.
Correct.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
So, related to that, Coach Saad, what do you think about the Desi diets and their support with PCOS and diabetes?
So every time I, mention this part, as I just did, so always, you have to make sure that the diet should be high in protein, lean protein, and should have enough fiber. You can go with the grains. You can have some healthy fats depending on where you stand in terms of your condition. For example, I was looking at a research here that the women with PCOS would be ideally recommended. Not every woman, but the one who have a severe case of PCOS would be recommended to have a low glycemic diet, which will stabilize the insulin levels, correct? The research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition supports that improved insulin sensitivity with low GI foods can be beneficial for such people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the high fiber role, omega-3 fatty acids also reduces the inflammation, and also it does the reduces the androgen levels, which is the male hormone. That will lead to controlled hormone levels that will impact and improve the situation. We are not saying that it cannot be reversed, but it's not so easy. So you have to be very mindful on the choices you make, and also the fact that it be it regular or gestational diabetes, which is caused during the pregnancy and everything, and soon after that, which continues, because a lot of women will get that during the pregnancy, and soon after the pregnancy, that can continue, which is the post, which is called as gestational diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, the low GI diet would be ideally recommended for women who are having severe cases like type 1 or type 2, not the pre-diabetics. With the low GI diet, like I mentioned just now, as per the research as well, it confirms that.
What is a low GI diet?
Low glycemic index diet, which it doesn't spike your blood sugar as such. But again, I would beg to differ on that specific part. For example, let's just take an example of watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
Its glycemic index is a bit higher. right?
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part is it's beneficial for the body. But if you're actually combining it with a lean source of protein, and then you're also having some other source of fiber, because watermelon does not have a lot of fiber.
Mm-hmm.
So if you combine that, that's going to benefit you. And also the fact that there was a research done, which is very, very famous, that was done, and all the complex carbohydrates, or just say the carbohydrates, were taken into account, all of them, and the highest amount of satiety in terms of the index, or the way it will keep you full, was the potato.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, obviously the sweet potato is
So-
way better than the potato, but it also has the highest GI index as well among the carbohydrates. So if you said that, then you would just avoid the potatoes. Then you would eat other foods that won't even keep you full. So you end up eating more. So you just have to be mindful. So the research is there to make you aware that yes, you can choose low GI foods if that is a primary source of your option. But if you're combining a good source of balanced diet where you have healthy fats, proteins, and everything, they can also benefit. Each and every woman facing different kind of issues can benefit with that, as per the research and evidence, as what I have dealt with my clients who had these similar issues. Alhamdulillah.
So which means the women can make French fries
Mhm.
for me. I mean, my wife. I mean, of course.
Yes, you
I can
can eat
enjoy
French fries,
eating
yes.
fries. Of course, it will be air fried.
You can make it on your own. Why don't you do that?
Uh,
It's a good point to discuss in
in a later,
the future podcast.
later podcast.
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
So yes, you can have fries air fried,
air fried, air
No,
fried.
definitely.
Hamad,
and balance it with your, as the diet, just to make sure that you don't have this spike, because it can spike you up if you just have the potatoes, even though it keeps you
So
full.
I can have some gosh. Meat.
Meat, yes, you can have some lean meat with that. Yes, for sure.
Then it should be good.
Inshallah.
So
Perfect. Inshallah. But we're talking about women here. So let's come back to the topic, inshallah. So I think one thing that I can take from this discussion that we did right now is a balanced approach is what you're trying to say, right?
Correct.
Saad? So a balanced approach will definitely help you in a long run
That's
with PCOS and hypothyroidism. There might be slight differences because not every single thing is going to be the same.
Correct.
But the different kinds of underlying conditions, we will have different kinds of plans and different kinds of dietary choices that we have to make.
Yes. So
Perfect.
it's not one size fits all. You have to make sure that you choose foods that suits your needs and your
Mhm.
requirements.
Because usually what I see is, I mean that would make sense too, right? Because some people, what they try to do is, like, for example, let's say me and my wife were to go on a diet to
Mhm.
lose weight. For example, I don't need to lose weight; I need to gain. But just hypothetically, if me and my wife were to go on a diet where we have to lose weight, and we see this research article that says, okay, so if you cut down your carbs and keep your protein levels high and your fiber levels high, and just in general, just follow that that pattern, and you'll be able to lose weight with some consistency of exercise here and there. As simple as that. And what I've seen is usually what happens is it works for one person, it doesn't work for the other person, or sometimes it just works for both of them, or it just doesn't work for both of them.
Correct.
So what do you think about that?
So I think that's a very good point to mention, that one diet is going to help or facilitate in terms of building up the metabolism, leading to the goals which they desire.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a combination of those diets and then enjoy them. But you have to also look at the research and how the body is responding at the same time. Because as I think I mentioned in the previous podcast or something, that there was a research done that two set of people, one set of people who ate, I think, high protein, high fiber, but lower carbs and higher fats.
Mm-hmm.
And the other set of people ate higher protein, higher fiber, and lower fats and moderate carbs, even the moderate fats in that case, right? On
Mhm.
the first group.
Mm-hmm.
The research was done. Both of them significantly lost weight. Okay, period. Because they both were in a calorie deficit. End of the day. That's the
Perfect,
main goal,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But the interesting part here is your brain works on carbohydrates, right?
100%.
Correct.
Felt that.
So the overall health of a person is dependent on if you were to take carbohydrates in your diet or not. We're not saying just overload it, depending on how your energy levels are and your activity. You have to be mindful, but you still have to need to have carbohydrates, because the group which had low carbs and higher fats had more closer mortality rate compared to others. So the people who lived longer were the ones who ate carbs in their diet and not reduced it to zero. So you can actually do one thing. Instead of going with the either groups, why not blend them? Have high protein, have high fiber, and some days have some higher fat and cut down your carbs, and some days increase your carbs and cut down your fats. Have a combination of that both. But if you're a person who really wants to go on a serious diet and you really like to eat a lot, then I would not recommend taking healthy fats so much, because they are calorie dense. So as I said, you just have to be mindful depending on where you stand in terms of your control, your appetite, your metabolism and everything. And then you can come up with a plan or go to a person or an organization that can help you decide that, inshallah.
Okay, perfect.
There is a question that I have. There is always a buzz out there about body dysmorphia and beauty standards, and the influence of the social media influencers, which affect a vast majority of women out there. You see a lot of content. It's mostly women. So what do you have to say in that, and what kind of advice do you have for the women?
So for that, we need to understand what is body dysmorphia, right? What really is it? It's been there for many years, and it's a very common term that has been used. That, it's also called as dysmorphobia. The fear. Phobia means fear, right? So it's a mental disorder. In a nutshell, to make it easy for you all, it's as if like you're not happy with what you are. Even if you look good, you think you are worst. You are ugly. Or maybe if a person is just trying to work out, whenever he looks in the mirror, even if he looks very good, he thinks that he looks ugly, or he's not jacked enough, or he looks thin or skinny fat or something. Even if there are major changes or significant changes, they are tend to thinking as per this mental disorder or this ideology they have acquired, that will make them think that they don't look good, and that will build up. And the major cause, as the brother mentioned, Brother Fawad, that social media.
100%, yes.
TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah, you name it. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or just WhatsApp images on the DPs of the woman or men or whatever it may be. We're talking about women, so just example of women.
I think it is basically like it's one of those things that, for example, let's say like you can use a knife to actually slice the bread, right? You can use a knife to slice the bread, or you can use the knife to actually kill someone too. So it's like that. So if you use a social media exactly, yeah.
Please give the reference.
please, bro.
So yeah, I thought this was getting dark here.
No, because like social media
I was about to remind you we're alive.
Yeah, I know. Subhanallah. No, like social media is something that you can use it for yourself or against yourself.
Correct. It's about anything.
Exactly.
Right. So social media can be utilized, but if there are people who are always on social media, have this habit of continuously, because I used to have that as well. Sometimes I also get affected, and there are some people who also are affected by that habit. To keep on scrolling and every day. Surely. So that will lead to a lot of. There was a research on that. I think Andrew Huberman also.
Dr. Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, Dr. Andrew Huberman also spoke about that, where it leads to this vicious cycle of consistently scrolling, leading to anxiety buildup, and you are depressed for no reason, and you are consistently releasing the dopamine from your brain, which will, again, as I mentioned, too much release of anything from your body can lead to a lot of issues, like for example, if it's too much, for example, if you release too much sweat, you lose all the electrolytes, for example. And likewise, dopamine release sometimes is actually good because it's a reward giving hormone, right? and feeling good hormone also, what we call it. But if it's too much, as per the another research, which it says that when you have too many high spikes of dopamine, what happens is you will have a downward trend of that, and that will not be on the baseline level. It will go beyond that. So that will be a negative impact on the body.
100%. The more you go up, the more you go down.
Correct.
As well, right
and
after
so
that.
you don't need too many dopamine spikes, and especially with the phone, not at all. Likewise, going back to the topic here, the woman, when they look at the social media, they think that that's an ideal physique or ideal diet they have to follow, or the lifestyle. They don't understand, little do they know, that that is just in front of the camera. For example, just imagine this. A person is waking up from the bed, doing all this, and then, flipping on the blanket and everything. You don't understand there's a person filming that. Beat that.
Subhanallah, yeah.
You're just looking at the video itself. Why don't you understand that there's a person or a entity or someone who's actually shooting that? So that's all framed. So how can you imagine yourself?
That natural, obviously.
Exactly.
You will have something.
Nobody looks amazing when they wake up from the bed. Okay.
100%.
Let's just understand that. If you want to make sure, just open the camera as soon as you wake up, the selfie camera, take a selfie. Nobody want to look at that, not even yourself. All right. So if you do not understand that, you would know that that's a reality check right there. That what goes on the social media most of the time is not true until you have a person who is like legit and everything, unless we wouldn't know, right? So stop doing that. Right? You don't have to live by that. It doesn't mean you just sit on the couch and get fat, or just have this underlying condition piling up and all together. Just be mindful and don't get too overwhelmed by that. That leads to this unrealistic expectations of your body and your diet and your lifestyle. That leads to stress, anxiety, and depression and whatnot. I hope that answers your question.
No, 100%. That does.
And that is about the social media thing. But what about the in-person aspect of things? When you have people who are elder, and then there are people who are like their husbands, there are people around you, your friends who, sometimes they nitpick, like, how does she look? And, those kind of comments
you get
and
that
judging.
in the Desi dawats.
Aunties.
Especially, yes.
The auntie comments that are so popular are all over the social media. And actually, even in person, may Allah make it easy for the many families that face these kind of things. Sometimes people just say things without even thinking how it affects so many people. So your take on that?
So that's a very that's a very common thing. It's been carried on from so many years, and even though people are aware of the fact that should not be done, because that's not something what Islam promotes. So we really have to be aware that that's not what we have to do. See, I understand that everyone goes through a different situation. Everyone has their own issues. Everyone has their own responsibilities and everything, right? So when you are going there and you are dealing with a situation, you don't have to just take anyone's word for it, right?
100%.
You have your own responsibilities. You have your own expectations. You have your own situation, right? As Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned, and as the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned, after the marriage, the priority of the husband becomes the priority of the wife, right? So she has to do what the husband loves, not any other person, right? A random auntie is coming saying, hey, you don't look good. Maybe if she's thin, she would say, why don't you get fat? Or why don't you gain weight? Now if she's gaining weight, why are you gaining so much weight? If she has clear skin, and then she would say, you have too much clear skin, why don't you apply some tan on your face or something? When she's tan, and you're like, you are so much tan, why don't you get fair?
No, subhanallah. Like one major point that I wanted to mention, and sorry to cut you off on that, is if you have acne sometimes, that's natural, and that's pretty normal, because you're a human being. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made every single person beautiful and perfect, because we are His creation, and we have to believe that He made the creation perfect. I mean, not perfect, but beautiful. Okay? So we are all beautiful, and we have to believe in that. So don't ever say to yourself and have those negative thoughts running in your mind every single day that, oh, I'm not perfect. You are not built to be perfect. No one's perfect. And don't believe on the social media. Okay? So, coming back to the point, as Coach Saad said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us all beautiful, and believe in that, and then work towards getting fit or getting healthy and actually adapting a healthier lifestyle.
So yeah. So just follow what your husband wants. Pray 5 times. Do your zikr. Fast in the month of Ramadan. And if your husband is happy, is pleased with you, khalas. That's all you need in this world, right? So
get to the Jannah.
Correct. That's our final destination, inshallah. May Allah make us all the dwellers of Jannah, inshallah. No, make us the dwellers of Jannah. No, inshallah here. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yes. So when we understand that, you don't have to care about what other people will say, because they will never be happy.
Perfect.
The other thing that we have is the chronic stress and the management regarding that. There are many women who do a lot of multitasking, taking kids to school, their lunch, getting the food ready, and sometimes there are working professionals too outside of that. And also there are single mothers there who manage more than what they actually manage. Like when it's a couple, there are some responsibilities that they distribute, but when it's like single mothers, there is more responsibility. Definitely something on that, if you can shed some light how it affects them, and it sometimes it even leads to joint pains and back pain. So the hormonal changes, the cortisol levels, and also the joint pains and the other pains, how it pans over here.
Correct. Jazakallah khair for mentioning that part. As we know that women go through a lot of hormonal imbalances, fluctuations in their weight and their mood and their life and everything, compared to men, twice or even thrice, right? Because Allah has created them like that, right? And as we have already mentioned about PCOS, PCOD, hypothyroidism, diabetes or gestational diabetes, we also have this common factor as menopause, right? Menopause, we know that it comes after 45 and so, right? Where the ovulation stops and everything. But we also have this condition which is among, I think, 5% of the women is we have the early menopause, which happens, I think,
40 to 45.
Yeah, 40 to 45 years of age, like earlier than 45, right? And there's also called as premature menopause, also called as premature ovarian insufficiency, right? That happens. That is very rare, but that do happen when women are 35 or younger, which does happen. And women are not, subhanallah. And that can lead to many issues. So that can lead to emotional shifts, estrogen drops. Estrogen, when it drops, because estrogen has this, which is a hormone in women and men as well, but more in women, that when it is there in the optimum levels in the body of the women, that can have anti-inflammatory effects. So women can deal with a lot of issues more effectively. And also the progesterone that happens when the transition is happening from perimenopause, which is just before, shortly earlier from menopause, transitioning to menopause. During that period, the estrogen level changes and the progesterone level changes. That leads to
a lot of stress.
No, the joint pains. Yeah, it leads to stress as well. Yeah. It's a byproduct of that as well.
Okay.
So joint pains, back tightness, frozen shoulders, many issues like that. And also they face many challenges like the bone density loss, some cognitive issues they have, and many things, right? So if you understand everything, now that's the reason we have to be educated enough to understand all that factors that lead to that, so we can make a decision. And we also know that there are many single mothers out there, not because they are doing it, from their own sake or what they chose. It is what Allah has decreed upon them. Khalas, alhamdulillah. So that is why they are, whatever happened, but they are single now. When they are single, they have this severe stress building up. Why? Because now they are playing a role of a mom, also playing a role of a dad. It's hard. because we don't know, because we have never experienced that.
100%.
But when
yes.
I've spoken to my clients, they explain, they get emotional that, see, even though I'm rich, but I have to manage this financial security. I have to manage all these factors of taking care of my kids. I have to manage that the tarbiyah is fine. I have to manage about the long-term security. I have to manage about every single thing that a man should do, what a woman should do, and the combined effort.
Mhm.
And on top of that, now I have to stay fit. On top of that, I have to make sure that everything is on point. How much can a woman handle? But yet again, we always recommend them that Allah has given you something because you can take it. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wusaha. Right? Allah does not burden a soul except at what it can bear. That is a motivation, but again, they're still experiencing that, right? Let's be honest here. It's easier to say than, feeling it, right?
Said
So-
easier said than done.
Correct.
basically.
So we need definitely community members, other people, provide resources, help those sisters out.
Education seminars should be done in a setting which are free, so everyone can benefit from that, who can afford and who cannot, and be a part of that community, and have some discussions and frequent conversations. Get some specialists out from the medical side, medical practitioners and everything, who can educate them, let them know that it's okay, and maybe give some mental counseling, everything like that. And it's always good because women love to be in a
Community.
group setting and community
Mhm.
setting. They can come together, socialize. That reduces the stress and the cortisol, that is a stress hormone as well, as per the research.
And like, if you were to tell them, let them be single moms, or even if they have their whole family with them, if you were to give them top 3 advices, right, what would those 3 advices be to maintain a healthy lifestyle so they can actually enjoy their life?
The best advice would be start taking protein, which is very hard because a lot of women do not like to eat protein, including my mom.
Okay.
So, and especially the animal protein. So they do not prefer to eat animal protein, which is very common. I don't know why Allah has created them like that, because majority, I would say at least 90% of the clients I dealt with, and also the women I know, my
They don't like
mom
to
and
eat
everything,
protein.
nobody likes to eat protein, especially the animal protein. And they want to eat carb and carb and a carb, and they still want to lose weight, or whatever the goal is, even maintain the weight. You have to understand that you still need protein. The best way, the first suggestion would be to have a protein-rich diet. But if you are not a fan of animal protein, still have some animal protein because they are the best source of the protein. Then what you can add, excuse me, you can have a balanced approach of the complex carbohydrates, which are high in protein, right?
Mhm.
I have an order which I recommend people, like, you can go for lentils, right? You can have some animal protein, but go for lentils.
Dal.
You go for dal. You can have dal because it is
The liquid or the solid one?
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can have that. So you can have that depending on what your goal is. You can have a good amount of protein from there. Yes, the carbs are a little bit higher. You also have fiber in that. That's amazing. Then you can go for chickpeas. Like maybe eat hummus. Amazing, but don't drizzle so much olive oil on that. But
Mhm.
know your limitations. And then you have black beans, you have quinoa, you have edamame beans, and everything. When you have these foods lined up which you can benefit from, which can actually improve your situation by making sure you're hitting the fiber goals, hitting your protein goals, and still enjoying them, because no woman wants to eat so much animal protein. So having some of the animal proteins here and there, animal, fish, lean proteins, and then majority of them would be like this combination, would really up their game, improve their situation. And then sleep.
That
The
is the
second point.
Correct. The second point is sleep. You really need sleep.
How much sleep?
I would say it depends. So anywhere between 6 to 8 hours is a good range to understand, especially now the evenings are longer. You can actually sleep early, and then you can get all this amount of sleep. But any case, if you're a busy woman and then you cannot, then you have these responsibilities on your shoulders and everything, still try to get some naps here and there, because sleep is the best medicine for you. Some days you don't even need the medication. I'm not asking you to just leave the regular medication you have, but generally speaking, some people feel sick, they take Tylenol. They feel dehydrated, or they are not properly nourished, they take some medication or something. Instead, take a nap. You will see so many benefits. It's like a pre-workout for me sometimes. You take a nap, boom. You see that amazing difference. So yes, sleep. Second point. Third, it's very crucial to make sure that you are moving.
Moving.
Mostly, I would recommend the realistic thing would be moving, like walking. The best and easy way. Doesn't mean you cannot run, but that's not the ideal thing. You have to make sure that you're walking and moving and many other things. But these are three crucial things which they can add it in their life. As I mentioned, having a balanced approach and everything can really improve their situation. And then they can, concentrate on each and everything in a more profound manner to have more exceptional results with the permission of Allah.
Let me add a fourth point as well. Fourth point would be, watching our podcast, of course. Inshallah, and it will definitely be beneficial, not only for the men, women, but also for the kids, nurturing the kids. Inshallah.
There's another point, which is not even a point.
What is
the most important thing, the zikr of Allah.
Definitely.
Nothing beats that.
Jazakallah khair on that.
Oh, yeah. Nothing beats that. And there is many research on that, especially that 89 participants were taken into consideration by a journal of life and medicine, that when they prayed consistently, who were praying consistently, they were taken into account, their saliva was checked, their cortisol levels was spiked up. Soon after their salah, or maybe a consistent pattern, it was seen that their cortisol levels significantly dropped soon after that. There's been another research which says that participants are asked to recite or read Surah Rahman, and their stress levels went down. Just like that, subhanallah.
It's not to say that, like specifically Surah Rahman.
No. They only did a research on one surah.
Yeah.
All the Quran is a healing for you.
Definitely.
Except what specifically has mentioned in the authentic ahadith and everything. But they did a research only on Surah Rahman is what I'm saying. I'm not going with that. We always go with the book and the Quran and the Sunnah. But the research only did on a specific part.
Okay.
So we know that Surah Rahman is an example that means that the whole Quran will reduce your stress. We already know from that.
Yeah, we definitely.
So I think one last thing would be just give us or give the women out there a practical plan right now, short, within like maybe let's say 2 minutes max, 2 to 3 minutes, whatever you can squeeze in. Give them like a plan that they can follow, not too strict, not something like that they have to like look at like all the carbs and fats and all those things, but just like a normal Desi kind of way, because we all eat Desi food. We have all maintained ourselves, alhamdulillah. There are a lot of million people who are maintaining themselves while eating the Desi food. Then if there is some basic advice you can give, or the guidance that you can give with the examples, that would be perfect for us. Jazakallah.
Oh, yeah. So what I would say is very crucial and important, that understanding the perspective. See, if you, I heard a person say that if you don't understand the why, then you cannot, I would say that, hold on. If you don't understand the how, you wouldn't be motivated to do the why, right? If you don't know why you're doing something, you wouldn't be motivated enough on a consistent basis. You need to know or have a reason, have a vision. For that, I would like to give you some stats here, that it was estimated, as per the research done by National Council on Aging, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, and many other institutes and research centers, that on an average, the women specifically who deal with the issues, like when they neglect their issues and conditions for a very long period, right? And that leads to consistent hospital visits when they find out the condition, and they have the specialized treatments and surgeries and everything. That will lead to the chronic diseases account for 90% of the annual $4.1 trillion in healthcare expenditure in the US. That's only, just who are dealing with that. Now we come to other part where it was said that when they go up to the severe health issues, this is just the basic issues, right? The severe health issues may necessitate hospitalizations, right? Which can be so expensive that the cost of caring for people with Alzheimer's and other issues that will lead to that has estimated of $360 billion in 2024, subhanallah, with projected increase to nearly $1 trillion by 2050. Allahu Akbar.
Allah Mustaan.
And the final one, the chronic health issues, like I mentioned about gestational diabetes, which is prolonged. We have hypothyroidism, you have the cardiovascular issues, you have the PCOS, you have the hypothyroidism, and you name it. All of them come under these chronic health issues that can lead to missed work days for women as well, which leads to a lot of issues and decreased productivity for women. Now they're not taking care of themselves, they lose the job because they're not fit for the job. That's a serious matter. And then when you look at that lead to lost income, older women who are growing and they have to take care of everything, up to 2/3 of those in the top 25% of the population have severe burden, and both treatment costs can pile up and keep piling up, which are leading to loss of jobs, loss of their health, and many other negative outcomes. So finally, what I would say, that the estimated financial burden on an average, okay, for a woman who is dealing with the situation can pile up from anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 annually. That's just an approximation, not taken into account of every other thing. When you understand these numbers, these are real numbers as per the research when I mentioned. You have to be really serious about this. This is not a joke anymore or just a random conversation or random podcast. We are doing this for the Ummah because we have seen people dying because of that. These numbers are real. And you have to be mindful about that. So my top 3 choices, as I mentioned, create a mindful diet for you. Higher protein, higher fiber. As I mentioned, lean proteins, chicken breast, or you can go for fishes and everything. Fiber, go for soluble vegetable fibers, go for any greens and everything. Have some fruits in your diet as well, depending on where you stand. And then you can also have some other source of healthy fats as a balance. Now, go for sleep, depending on where you stand in terms of getting the sleep, anywhere between 6 to 8, which gives you enough productivity. Do that. Get yourself checked frequently, at least in 6 months in a while. Go yourself, meet your gynec and get yourself checked and see that where you stand. It is very crucial. You have to take this very, very seriously. If not, then you will face this. These numbers are real. Understand that. And overall, which I have discussed till now, just try to incorporate that in your life by walking, doing some resistance training that really helps you as per the research to build up good immunity. More muscle, more immunity. Imagine that. So yes, we have the simple way. Just follow that. Be mindful, be real, be educated, so you can educate others and benefit yourself while keeping in mind you're doing for the sake of Allah.
Allahumma barik. So just to summarize, first is the mindset. Train your mindset. Get yourself educated on that. Get a diet. Get sleep. Do some exercise. And, do some dhikr that will have the mental stress again. Lowered. And last but not the least, try to have a community where you get reminders like what we have Allahumma barik here. There will be other people out there that they can benefit from. So these are all the things step by step they can follow, inshallah. And until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair wa barakallah feek. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.